everybody, it's Cassie and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to go over all the stats in 2019. I have pie charts, I have bar graphs, I have all the Goodreads stats from the reading challenge, everything to go along with 2019. I recently did a cozy Christmas book tag video and I messed up on it. The longest book was not winter. The longest book you will see here in a little bit. And I don't know what happened. I guess I was looking at my 2018. 2018, winter was my longest book. So we will get into my longest book in this video. Now, according to Goodreads, I read 68 books. In my reading journal, I read 66. I don't know what happens between my journal and Goodreads. I don't know if it counts rereads or what I counted or what it didn't count. I have no idea what happened. The same thing happened last year. I was either 1 or 2 off from Goodreads. I don't know what goes on, but hopefully I get it figured out this year in 2020. So out of those 68 books, according to Goodreads, I read 25,038 pages. That was really well. I did read more last year, so it's a huge difference from last year to this year, but I'm still glad that I did complete my reading goal. For the highest rated Goodreads book that I had read was Saga Book 1, and I ended up giving that 5 stars, and the average rating for that book is 4.69 stars. Maybe one of these days we will be able to do the 0.5 on these ratings. Maybe that will happen soon, but I did give that 5 stars. It has about, I think, 9 of the Saga books in it, or maybe 8 books. I'm not entirely sure, but I read book 1 and book 2, and then I think I had to read the individual stories as I kept reading on, because I think, is it volume 10? No, I don't know which volume it is, but it is not out yet. It left us on a huge cliffhanger, and I am very highly anticipating that to come out. The shortest book that I read this year was Night of the Living Dummy 3 with 125 pages. And here we get into the longest book was Beauty of Darkness, which is 684 pages, a lot less than Winter. And I said that A Court of Wings and Ruin was my second longest book, but that was 2018, so I said that all wrong. My longest book was The Beauty of Darkness. My average page length was 368 pages. The most popular book that everyone read, with 976,272 people that have read it, was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. And the least popular was 919 with Blood Witch by Amelia Atwater Rhodes, and that was my lowest rated book of the year. And I ended up giving Miss Peregrine's, I think, a 4.5. So the least popular was my lowest rated. And my average rating is 4.2 stars. I ended up giving a lot more books, about 4.5 this year. Now we are going to get into all the charts that I have made. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the focus group, the age range, the labels given for the books. I don't know, I wouldn't call it a genre, because genre is fantasy, sci-fi, regular fiction, nonfiction. I mean, what would you call it? But the 3 groups that I read from this year were young adult, adult, and middle grade. Of course, young adult was the most that I read from, and that was 37, with middle grade 13, and adult 16. This is normal for me. Always more young adult than adult. That may change in the future. I may go more towards adult eventually, but right now and in the past, I have gravitated more towards young adult books. Now to the authors. I read from more female authors than male authors. I think it was about half and half last year. This year was 34 female and male 15. I don't know if I'm going to try to keep it half and half in 2020. We'll just see what happens depending on what I pick up. Now to the genres. My favorite part to look at. I love seeing what I read from more, and I almost always know which one is going to be in the lead. I ended up doing a bar graph and a pie chart for this because I wanted to see it both ways, and I hope you don't mind. Fantasy was 29, sci-fi 8, historical fiction 4, romance 2, thriller 5, contemporary 8, classic 2, humor 4, dystopian 2, and paranormal 2. The way I did this was when I went to Goodreads. You know how down at the very bottom there is the list of genres, and it has like 2 to 10, 2 to 8. I don't know. There is a huge list sometimes of what a book goes under. And I will say that most of the humor books were, I think, the middle grade books. Some of these, like the romance, were basically historical fiction too. Some of the romance was fantasy. But whatever was in that first slot is what I counted the book as. So... And I only read 2 classics. I didn't know what to call them other than adult fiction or kids fiction. You know what I mean? I did it its own thing. And now to my star rating. I was a lot more critical this year about giving out 5 stars. I not only went based off of how I felt about the book, but how well I thought the writing was, and if I felt how the characters were, just basically how it was written overall in general. I kind of wish I would have given more books 5 stars because some were fantastic, like the ones I gave 4.5 or 4. But there was always just one little tiny thing that I did not like, that I didn't feel comfortable with giving it 5 stars. Most of the 5 stars were not from my ratings. Most of the 5 stars were from my son. So actually, that probably knocks it down by 5, 6, 7 books that I did not rate 5 stars, but my son did. I don't know how many that was. I did not go into that much of research on who rated what. But we'll go down from 5 to 1. 5 stars was 20 books. 4.5 stars was 8. 4 stars were 22. 3.5 stars were 6. 3 stars, 9. 2 stars, 1. And I think that was the same as last year too. I only gave 1 book 2 stars. And I told you what that was. So, yeah, I was a lot more critical this year. I will probably continuing it on into 2020. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I do hope that I will have more favorites this year, the year in 2020, than in 2019. Now to the format of the books that I read them in. This was the year that I read less ebooks and more audiobooks. The last year, I read a ton of ebooks and less audiobooks. This year, it was so much more, a drastic change. I don't know what happened, and yet I keep getting ebooks on my Kindle because I just can't help myself. So the physical copies that I read were 35 books. The audiobooks were 27 and the ebooks were 4. And I know what they were. It was Wires and Nerve, Volume 2. It was Once Upon a Kiss, and Saga Book 1 and Saga Book 2, plus all of the individual ones, I think, but I don't think I counted those. I don't know what happened. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is how many books I read per month. And some of it was pretty steady. Some months were fantastic, and one month was not, but I had a reason for that, and when I get to it, I will explain that. But in January, I read 4 books. February was 5. March and April were both 6. 10 was for May. I think a readathon was going on with that. So usually when there's readathons that I'm really invested in and I really am interested in the books that I have chosen, I will most likely have that month be the biggest month that I read the most books. June and July were dropped back down to 6, August 4, September 3. September was a very busy month. We have 4 birthdays to celebrate, so a lot goes on that month. October was 9. I think there was another huge readathon going on, 2 or 3. I can't remember. November was 7, and then December ended up being 1. That is because I started it and finished it at the very beginning of the month, and I stopped because I wanted to do all of my stats, count everything to get up all the end of the year videos, to make sure I'm keeping the numbers the way they are and not messing myself up, because I wanted to get all these videos out for everybody. So December was the one book I read was Lock Every Door by Riley Sagar. I really enjoyed it, and I am glad to say that it was a good book to end the year on. I really did enjoy it. I do recommend it. The twist at the end, I was not expecting. I don't think I vlogged it, and I wish I would have vlogged it. It was a book that had an ending I did not see coming. It took the weirdest twist. It was very good, and I do recommend it. So that is my reading in 2019. 66 to 68 books. I have no idea on the exact number because some of these have probably 68, some of these probably have 67, some of these probably have 66, who knows, maybe 65. My numbers are never straight, apparently. Every year I do like seeing how my wrap-ups turn out. I like seeing all the graphs. I will end up gluing all of these things in my journal. I am starting a new journal in 2020. I hope you guys ended up watching my 2017, 2018, and 2019 bullet journal, book journal, reading journal flip through. I'm sad to see that journal end, but I am so excited to start the new journal and actually quite nervous to start it. But I am adding a lot of new pages in it. So look forward to a 2020 reading journal flip through. I am going to film that soon and get it up for you guys because I want you to see what I am doing for the year in 2020. The one thing that I did not do, which I was going to do, and then I remembered as while I was filming this, I did not count the page numbers I read for each book, like 100 plus pages, 200 plus pages, you know, around those page ranges. Then I did not write down the years, like the new releases that I read in 2019. I forgot to do a graph of that, and I forgot to do all the years prior to that. So I will be leaving those down either in the description or in the comments for you guys to see. I would like for you to let me know some of your stats. How many books did you give 5 stars, 4 stars, 3.5 stars, whatever? What was your highest rated book? How many more physical copies versus audiobooks versus ebooks did you read? How many female versus male authors did you read? And which month did you read the most books? May was mine. It was 10 books. So I thought that was great. Let me know down in the comments everything that happened in 2019 for you, all the good stats stuff, because I like to see it, I like to read it, and I think it's great to get it all out there and save it for future reference. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys had a great holiday, a happy new year, and all the good things. I will talk to you in the next one. Bye!